I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, and Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the DTOM Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon, this is Don't Tread on Merica. Alrighty, how's everybody doing out there today? It is Sunday, May 3rd, 2026. Alright, got a good show for you today. We're going to talk about some stuff, right? Couple of things first, real quick, guys. Whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, make sure you follow the show. Make sure you hit that little button there. There's no Patreons. There's no special listener McGillicuddy because you're paying me money. Just follow the show, subscribe, whatever the button is there, hit it. Also, follow the show on social media. Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, on the Ticker Talker. And, of course, on the Twitter X Machine DTOM Podcast 1776. And don't forget to follow the show on Rumble. Don't Tread on America TV. I did a little bit of remodeling in the DTOM studio. Guys, if you're watching this on Rumble, you can see the mass amount of whiskey that has been relocated into my room. This is all the Maker's Mark that they give me right here. See all them red tops there? That's Maker's Mark. I mean, I got a bunch more out in the dining room, but I had to do the kitchen table. The dining room table was getting filled up. My wife was getting pissed, so I had to work on that today on my day off. But now I'm here. I'm giving you a show. Guys, also check out the DTOM Store. I don't take any money from that. It's not free merchandise. You do have to pay for it. But all proceeds go to Tunnels to Towers. So you're supporting the show by pimping the merchandise. And, guys, if you're not on social media, go to the website, DontTreadonMerica.com. From there, you can reach everything, including emailing me. You can hit me up, DonQ at DontTreadonMerica.com. And right now, we're going to crank it up with a little bit of Damn Yankees on this Sunday. A very weather-like Sunday. I don't know where you guys are at, but it's raining here in the sunny state of Florida. But we're not mad about it because we haven't had rain in a minute. So my yard is like, yes, please, give me rain. Guys, today I'm a little pissed off. And I'm sure you guys are too about these gas prices. They're just going up, going up. I feel like the thing on The Price is Right, you know, right? We're going to talk about that, and will they ever come down? All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Don't Tread on America. Of course, I'm your host, Don Q, and today we're going full throttle, guys. Excuse me. No breaks, no apologies, no government scripted spin. We're going to dive into the real story behind the Israel-Iran-Lebanon bloodbath that's been bleeding your wallet dry since February 28th of 26. We started with bulldozers leveling a historic Christian monastery in Euphrates, Lebanon. We got Trump promising 2 weeks, right? And a quick fix. We got gas prices kissing $4.40 and climbing. But peel back the curtain, and it's not about stopping Iran's nukes or disarming Hezbollah. It's the greater Israel project. Biblical kingdom building from the Nile to the Euphrates, exactly as foretold. And if the pattern holds, a phony peace deal is just the pause button before they roll into Egypt and Iraq. We're talking BRICS embargo, oil in the yuan, petrodollar collapse, stagflation hell, the whole world finally turning on Netanyahu. I'm not dismissing a single conspiracy theory here because the maps, the quotes, the rubble, and the bank accounts don't lie. The government and the IDF are hiding the endgame. So let's rip the lid off, strap in. This one's going to be a good one because the truth is massive. We'll be starting here after our solo. Hang tight. All right, I'm going to try something different with the music. I've got it low because I want to be able to not have to pause the music to play the clips and go back to the music. So the music's on low. You can barely hear it probably, but it is enough that it takes out background noises. That's why I play the music, guys. So please enjoy this show. Guys, a couple of things before we get into this shit. I'm pissed off today. If you're watching this on Rumble, you're probably thinking, where's this big-ass glass of whiskey? Well, it's 3 o'clock as I record this, which isn't odd for me to have a glass of whiskey. However, I'm off today, and I'm actually taking my day off tomorrow because I'm taking 2 days off this week. And, I'm drinking a Mountain Dew, and I've got an Alpen. So one could say I'm running on caffeine, nicotine, and hatred for what's going on over there that's affecting every single one of us. I don't care how much money you make. This is affecting us all. 2 days ago, May 1st, 2026, Israeli forces rolled heavy machinery into the southern Lebanese border village of Euron. They didn't just damage, they razed the historic monastery and school of the Sisters of the Holy Savior. Catholic nuns evacuated. The place served thousands of kids for decades. Lebanese state media, Naldula Agency, Dawn, and TRT World all reported bulldozers and excavators tearing down stone walls while dust clouds rolled. Now, I have the video here, and all you hear is this. The video is more visual than audio, but you can hear the destruction. If you go to Twitter, X, whatever, and look this up, you'll see what I'm watching right now. If I was good at audio and video, I could put this on Rumble, but I am not. Anyway, it's about a 25-second video that is doing that. And you'll see the destruction of this monastery. Now, it's not some damage, that's deliberate leveling. The IDF claims Hezbollah infrastructure, says the building had no external signs it was religious at first, then they stopped once they saw crosses. Bullshit. The video proves sustained demolition. Catholic leaders called it a war crime on a civilian religious site. So why start here? because it's the perfect microcosm. Southern Lebanon ops began mid-March of 26 after Hezbollah joined the Iran fight. The official line, a security buffer. The real line, clearing the path for permanent occupation up to the Litani River. Defense Minister Katz and Netanyahu said on record, new border with Lebanon. Smotrich flat out declared the Litani as Israel's new border. And I have this article here that I will read. The Israeli government said on Tuesday that it will occupy southern Lebanon up to the Litani River, marking a major escalation in the far-right government's expansionist goal under the guise of self-defense. Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israeli forces will control all remaining bridges and establish a so-called security zone up to the Litani River, which would amount to Israel occupying nearly 10% of Lebanon. Katz said that hundreds of thousands of Lebanese residents who fled north of the river will not be allowed to return to their homes until security for the residents of the north is ensured. He also said Israeli forces will continue to destroy homes and buildings in southern Lebanon as they did in Gaza by implementing the Rafah and Bet Hanun models, referring to two towns in the strip that Israel completely decimated. Hezbollah slammed the planned occupation as an existential threat to the Lebanese state and vowed to fight back. Since March 2nd, when Israel ramped up its offensive in Lebanon, it has displaced more than 1.16 million people, over a quarter of the population, according to Lebanese officials. Israeli forces have killed at least 1,072 people, including more than 120 children in Lebanon, per the country's health ministry. But, I'm sure they're lying, right, Benjamin? Today's escalation reflects a long-held aspiration endorsed by Benjamin Netanyahu known as Greater Israel, a plan to take over much of the region, including not only historic Palestine, but also parts of Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan. Now, we've discussed this before. Ultranationalist Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said on Monday that Israel should move its borders to the Litani River. He says, Litani must be our new border with the state of Lebanon, just like the yellow line in Gaza, and like the buffer zone and peak of the Hermon in Syria. In late February, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid said he would support anything that will allow the Jews a large, broad, strong land and a safe haven for us. The biblical borders of the land of Israel are clear, Lippitt said. Therefore, the borders are the borders of the Bible. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee said it would be fine if they took it all, referring to Israel conquering much of the Middle East. Huckabee's comments spurred international outrage, and several governments in the Middle East released a joint statement that condemned his remarks as a flagrant violation of principles of international law. So, now let's go back to here. This isn't fog of war, it's the opening act. Now, I've been saying this since this part of the war started in February. I wish I had found stuff about this Greater Israel project 2 years ago when all of this really started. But in February 28th of 2026, U.S.-Israeli strikes kill Iran Supreme Leader. Hezbollah piles in on March 2nd. Israeli ground ops in Lebanon mid-March. Trump brokers a 2-week Iran ceasefire around April 8th. Then a 10-day Israeli-Lebanon truce, April 16th, extended 3 weeks to April 23rd. He said it would be quick. Gas prices would drop like a rock. Here we are, it's May 3rd. 2 months plus of violations, rubble, and your tank still costing a fortune. Do you remember this when he said this?
If you need more time, does that mean Americans should anticipate spending more on gasoline for the foreseeable future?
For a little while. And you know what they get
How
for
long?
that? You know what they get for that? Iran without a nuclear weapon that's going to try and blow up one of our cities or blow up the entire Middle East. You want to see what shock would be? And I have to be honest, the stock market is at an all-time high right now. I thought it would have been down 20, 25%. When we hit, wait a minute, wait, can I finish my question, wise guy? Stock market's at an all-time high right now. I projected, and I'm pretty good at this, that the stock market, Howard, would drop maybe 20%, 25%, and I understood that, and I said, hey, it's a bad thing, but I have to do what's right for the country, even the world, because you can't have them, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. So the stock market, unlike what a lot of people were predicting, I thought they weren't necessarily wrong. And the stock market today hit an all-time high. Hit an all-time high yesterday, the day before, and it's staying there. I thought oil would go up to maybe $200 a barrel, and oil is at a different number than anyone thought. In fact, this country is much lower because we have all the oil we can use. We're actually, ships are coming from all over the world to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. They're coming from all over the world to get oil from the United States, while this is closed, the Hormuz Strait. So if you look at what I said, I guess it was right, because I said I'd have it 4 to 6 weeks, and in 4 weeks we have totally defeated their military. So right now, I don't want to rush it because you guys are, trying to make us look as bad as possible. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons.
Okay, so let's touch on some of those points there that he said. Number one, the majority of Americans. Now, okay, I don't know where you guys are in life as far as the stock market. Okay, I much like a lot of you guys have a 401k. It fluctuates on a daily basis. Yes, my 401k depends on what the stock market does. However, most of us who have a 401k, we don't live and die by what our 401k is doing, because we still have a while before we can access that, right? Your average everyday American gives two shits what that stock market is doing, realistically, because most of us just work a regular job. We punch a clock. We work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and it doesn't really matter, for the most part, what that stock market does on a daily basis. What does matter is how much the gas it costs for us to put in our tanks on a daily or weekly basis to be able to get to and from work. If you're making minimum wage, which is obviously a lot higher than it used to be, but still not that much because everything else has gone up in price. So I think in Florida, the minimum wage is like $14 an hour. So let's say the average worker makes $18, $20 an hour, okay? That sounds great, but your rent's a lot higher. Maybe your mortgage, your mortgage probably, it shouldn't have fluctuated in that sense, but let's say you're renting an apartment or you're renting a house, your mortgage, your rent has gone up, your electricity bill has gone up, the price of groceries have gone up. Not just because of this, but over the past, 8 years, these things have gone up. Now, gas prices being at $4.40, $4.50, depending on where you live, a gallon. I hate to say this for the people around the world that are listening to this show, but you know what? It's not Americans' problem. It's not your average everyday Americans' problems that this is going on. We didn't do this. And him saying that we have plenty of oil, ships are coming from all over the world to get our oil. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Who is that benefiting? It's not benefiting us. It's not benefiting the average everyday American that works in this country. Whether you're working in food service or retail or whatever you do for a living, construction, yard mowing, whatever you do. Who it does affect in a positive manner are the oil companies, because the higher the price of oil goes, the more money they're going to make. And obviously, the more oil they're selling to other countries versus them getting it from the Middle East is also benefiting these companies. So the stock market going up also is causing oil prices to go up, because oil is traded on the world market. I talked about this when Biden was president. Everyone's like, oh, it's all Biden's fault. Yeah, okay, maybe some, but probably not, because it has nothing to do, for the most part, with the president. There are things that the president, whoever that person is, can say that can affect oil prices. Okay, when Biden was president, him saying that they were going to stop leasing land, stop leases, and stop this and stop that caused the price of oil to go up, okay, on the futures market. When Trump came into president, it was drill, baby, drill, and whatever caused the price of gas and oil to go down, right? This conflict in the Middle East has now caused that to go back up. But like he said, because of drill, baby, drill last year, we're selling the shit out of oil out of America. That's great. It's great for Exxon and Shell and whoever in the fuck else oil companies are based in America. It's great for the oil workers in Texas and Alaska and the refineries in Louisiana and California and Alaska and wherever else. It's great for those people. But the average person that works at McDonald's or works at a restaurant or does whatever they do, that's struggling as it is, now it's costing an extra $20-$30 a week to buy gas. Like I filled up my Jeep the other day, which normally would take, from where it was at, I think it was like 60 miles to empty, normally would take $40-$50 to fill it up, was almost $80. Now that's a big jump. So when he says a little while, it's very reminiscent of the whole fucking COVID shit. 2 weeks to slow the spread, right? 2 weeks for us to feel a little pain at the gas pump. It's been 2 months. The Strait of Hormuz is still choked. Oil has spiked and it's continuing to go up. He's talking about, I thought it'd be $200 a barrel. It's getting there. It's almost $150 as of today. It was $146 this morning. Now, I haven't drove by the gas station today, but I guarantee you, tomorrow morning, Monday morning, when you're driving to work, gas is going to be over $4.50 in Florida. I guarantee you. Or $4.49. Close to fucking enough. This was never meant to end fast. It's the cover for the land grab. So, before we get deeper into the biblical blueprint, let's pay some bills around here. Let's talk about our first sponsor, guys. Hang tight. Folks, if you're done with weak nicotine options that leave you jittery or gassed out, it's time to switch to Alp nicotine pouches. Jesus Christ, I only got one left in there. Oh, that's fine, I got more. Clean, long-lasting, zero smoke, zero judgment. Whether you're on the road, in the studio, or just grinding through another day of watching the world burn, Alp delivers the steady hit you need without the drama. Go to outpouch.com/DTOM right now for 20% off your first order. Tell them Don Q sent you. Support the show and support your freedom to choose. We'll be right back. All right, guys, so here's where we stop pretending. I guess I can put this down now. The nukes, the rockets, the quote-unquote self-defense is all cover. The real driver of all this is Greater Israel. Eretz Yisrael Hashemelah, from the Nile to the Euphrates. Genesis 15, chapter 15, 18. Let me turn that down just a hair. To your descendants I give you this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. Deuteronomy backs it. Zionist maps have shown it for decades. Netanyahu, in a 2025 news interview replayed everywhere this year, said he's on a historic and spiritual mission for Greater Israel. Smotrich says Litani is the new border. He's talked expanding to Damascus. The far-right coalition demands full occupation, evacuation of locals, settlement creep, just like Gaza and the Golan Heights. Play this.
Its darkest day to deliver one of the most stunning military comebacks in history. But we're not done yet. The final elements, the final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job. That is why we want to do so as fast as possible. I've surrounded Gaza with massive loudspeakers connected to this microphone in the hope that our dear hostages will hear my message. Our brave heroes. This is Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking to you live from the United Nations. We have not forgotten you, not even for a second. The people of Israel are with you. We will not falter and we will not rest until we bring all of you home. There's a familiar saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, for many countries here, when the going got tough, you caved. And here's the shameful result of that collapse. For much of the past 2 years, Israel has had to fight a seven-front war against barbarism, with many of your nations opposing us. Astoundingly, as we fight the terrorists who murdered many of your citizens, you are fighting us. You condemn us, you embargo us, and you wage political and legal warfare, it's called lawfare, against us. I say to the representatives of those nations, this is not an indictment of Israel. It's an indictment of you. It's an indictment of weak-kneed leaders who appease evil rather than support a nation whose brave soldiers guard you from the barbarians at the gate. They're already penetrating your gates.
So, yeah, hold on. So I'm going to read this article. What Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli right really mean when they invoke Greater Israel. The concept is about much more than acquiring territory. It is about Netanyahu's desire for Israel to become a regional superpower. Much remains... come on. Okay. Much remains unclear about the significance and durability of the 2-week pause in the U.S. and Israel's war on Iran. But one aspect of the conflict remains as clear today as it was 6 weeks ago. Trump doesn't have a plan, but Netanyahu does. Israel's war aims were to maximally degrade the capacity of the Iranian state, achieving not so much regime change as a state implosion. Despite the ceasefire, Netanyahu has emphasized that this is not the end of the campaign, and that Israel's finger is on the trigger to resume combat. A seasoned strategist, he has spent the second Trump administration seizing the opportunity of geopolitical fluidity to reach his goal of the Greater Israel. When it's invoked on the Israeli right, Greater Israel is often seen as a purely territorial concept, an attempt to increase the size of territory that Israel claims as its own. This is certainly integral to its meaning. After all, Israel has been expansionist and entailed the displacement and disposition of Palestinians since its inceptions, and this process has now accelerated considerably. In the past 2.5 years, Israel has flattened and reconquered Gaza, killing tens of thousands of people and laying waste to its civilian infrastructure, squeezing its population, according to one estimate from the last year, into just 12% of an already tiny strip of land. In the West Bank, Israel continues to campaign of destruction and displacement towards Palestinian people and property that is unparalleled since the Six-Day War of 67, expanding its matrix of control and settlement. After the fall of President Bashar al-Assad in 2024, Israel seized territory in Syria beyond the illegally annexed Golan Heights, and is in the process of reconstituting a zone of occupation in southern Lebanon. Government ministers from the religious Zionism and Jewish power factions, like Likud parliamentarians, openly agitate for Israeli sovereignty and settlement in that country. The finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, has called for Israel to expand to Damascus, and Netanyahu himself claimed to feel very much connected to this territorial vision of Greater Israel. However, Greater Israel should be seen as a geopolitical and strategic concept as much as a territorial one. The acquisition and control of land is, in many respects, the obvious and easy part. Israel's prime minister is pursuing something both more ambitious and more sophisticated than a simple control of territory. A project of domain that is made up of new alliances, underwritten by hard power dependency. To understand this, we need to go back a few years after the terrible crimes inflicted on Israelis on the 7th of October. And as the magnitude of cruelty of Israel's response in Gaza became clear, its attempts at regional integration, normalization relations with Arab neighbors became increasingly stuck. Netanyahu faced a choice: either resume efforts at regional normalizations via a more accommodationist approach to the Palestinians, or double down on his zero-sum negotiation of Palestinian future. In opting for the latter, Netanyahu needed to remove Iran as a regional power balancer, a move that required direct and massive U.S. military engagement alongside Israel. In the days preceding the Iran war, two influential former Israeli security figures writing for the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security observed that, from the point of a view of key regional Sunni states, overthrowing the Iranian regime or weakening it significantly would establish Israel's status as the dominant regional power. Achieving this necessitates not only collapsing Iran, but simultaneously weakening the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC states, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, and making them dependent on Israel for security and energy export routes. In other words, the war's spillover impact the GCC states being hit by Iranian drones and missiles can be seen as an intentional design feature for Israel, not a regrettable side effect. Predictably, when Israel and the U.S. launched this war, the GCC's access to global markets via the Strait of Hormuz was severely impacted. And when Israel escalated by targeting Iranian energy infrastructure, Iran made good on those threats to respond in kind against the Gulf. Netanyahu took the opportunity to call for alternative routes instead of choke points in the Hormuz Strait and the Bab al-Mandab Strait, anticipating oil pipelines, gas pipelines going west through Arabian Peninsula, right through up to Israel, right up to the Mediterranean ports. In his public announcements, Netanyahu has connected some of the dots of this project for Greater Israel dominion. I keep on wanting to say domination, same difference, I guess. Just days before the start of this war, during a visit to Israel by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Netanyahu shared this vision to create an entire system, essentially a kind of hexagon of alliances around or within the Middle East, including Indian, Arab nations, African nations, Mediterranean nations, and nations in Asia. Israel would be the key node point of this alliance. A recently published piece in Hebrew from two high-ranking figures at the Official Strategy Institute of the Israeli Defense Force helpfully filled in some of the blanks. They argue that Israel's military would not only conquer territory directly, but also achieve operational control even in areas far from Israel's borders, without occupying or holding territory. Israel would be granted a superior status as a kind of queen of the jungle. It's not uncommon to hear the rest of the Middle East referred to as the jungle in Israeli political discourse, establishing a regional order that will further Israel's goals. In recent speeches, Netanyahu has started referring to Israel not only as a regional superpower, but in some respects a global superpower. Israel is looking to place itself at the center of the regional alliance that could be sustained even if U.S. power draws down. Netanyahu has promised that the Hexagon Alliance would be deployed against the radical Shia axis and the emerging radical Sunni axis. Israel has not been shy in naming the next threat to be addressed: Turkey. So, no matter what we're being told by Trump, even Netanyahu, the fact of the matter is this is what is going to happen. This is the goal. It started back, in 08? 02, 03, when we invaded Iraq and got rid of Saddam Hussein. There's pieces to this puzzle that had to take place. Nothing is going to happen overnight in this whole situation. They had to get rid of Saddam Hussein to conquer Iraq. Now, the regional superpower currently is Iran. Now, although the Euphrates lies in Iraq, which is part of the reason why they had to get rid of Saddam Hussein, because obviously Iran sees what's going on. And this has nothing to do with whatever we're being told. Nuclear arms and all this bullshit. It's a fucking lie. The United States is co-signing with this agreement. You have all of these different media outlets from Europe and the Middle East all reporting the same thing. Lebanon buffer isn't temporary. It's the Gaza model on steroids. Raise, occupy, prevent return, then push north, east, south. The Euphrates Monastery, a Christian village cleared as collateral in the kingdom build. They're erasing obstacles to the biblical map. Government hiding it. Of course, the IDF photos claim intact while the video shows rubble. They know if the American public saw the full map, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, chunks, Egypt, Sinai, Iraqi Euphrates, they'd cut the blank check. But the pattern is undeniable. This isn't defense, it's destiny manifest. All right, guys, we're going to get another quick break in here. In this age of surveillance and data grabs, you need to protect yourself online. NordVPN is the gold standard. Military-grade encryption, no logs policy, lightning-fast servers in 60-plus countries. Whether you're researching what the mainstream won't touch or just streaming without big tech watching, Nord keeps you invisible. Go to NordVPN.com. Use promo code DTOM at checkout for a huge discount, plus 4 months free on a 2-year plan. Don't let them track you. Stay free. We'll be back in just a second. So, let's talk about some hypotheticals here. Assume the peace deal lands. Gas dips to 3-something. World size in relief. Then what? Israel keeps rolling. The Sinai for Suez depth. Iraq for Euphrates buffer. Biblical prophecy fulfilled. The excuse is the same script. Iranian proxies launching from there, security zones, historical spiritual rights. Netanyahu already connected the dots. The Litani today, Damascus tomorrow.
Said to him, what are the borders? Because my read of Genesis is that there's a big hunk of land. That's the Middle East. Does Israel have a right, because you're referring to this text as the basis of the right, to have that land? And he said, fine with me. So, like, on many levels, theological and diplomatic, kind of a big thing to say. The White House was annoyed that he said it out loud. He said to him...
So that was Tucker Carlson recently. He was on with RT News. And that was him reliving the interview he had with Mike Huckabee. And that's something that Mike Huckabee said. Well, when he said that, he said the quiet part out loud. Something that most Americans, now, maybe some of you guys listen to Tucker, maybe you don't, but a lot of people do. Okay? He's the number one podcast, period. You know, some would argue, oh, it's Joe Rogan, it's blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. But he gets about 3 million plus people listening to his show on a regular basis. Okay? And also, a lot of his clips get replayed on Twitter. So whether you listen to his show or not, you probably see a lot of his show, period. When Mike Huckabee said this was like a month or so ago, the White House cringed because deep down inside, Trump and the people that are talking to him know that this is what happened. You have senators, ambassadors, constantly putting this in a biblical standpoint of this is what has to happen. I said this on October 8th of 23 when all of this shit started, that this was allowed to happen. They needed October 7th to happen to be able to get to where we are today and tomorrow and 6 months from now. My question is this. Let's just, like, we're talking in hypotheticals, right? So let's just assume that Iran's conquered, they have a regime change, and they're just kind of like, just let us be, and we're not, kind of like what happened in Iraq, okay? And Israel has already moved north to where they wanted to be. They already moved into Syria where they wanted to be. And now they move east into Iraq to the Euphrates where they want to be. It doesn't stop there because now they got to go south and west. That brings in Turkey and Egypt. What happens then? Are we going to keep on buying the bullshit excuses? So the economic bomb is that the Suez is 12% of global trade could be disrupted. Iraqi oil fields offline. Gas could jump to $6 to $10 a gallon in America easily. Now I know in other countries it's already there. BRICS embargo kicks in. Saudi and the UAE pivot to yuan, and that kills the petrodollar. So one of my thought processes is this. If that happens, and this kind of goes back to my Bitcoin show that I did like a week or so ago, is this all part of a big plan to kill the United States, the American dollar? And you could sit here and say, you're listening to this right now and you're saying, Don, why would they want to do this? Well, because the ultimate push is to get everybody on CBDCs and get onto a digital currency, a global digital currency. Which means your money that you make, no matter how big or little that is, assuming you're not involved in the stock market like most regular Joe Americans aren't, how does that affect you? Could you imagine if gas is at $3.40 right now, if it doubled in the next 2 months? There's people that work basic jobs, minimum wage jobs, maybe they work 2 jobs, that aren't going to be able to afford to go to work. What does that mean for every American, no matter how little or how much you make? And what I mean by that is this. Your average retail worker, whether it's in grocery or, like Walmart, Target, whatever, your average restaurant workers, whether it's fast food or a sit-down restaurant, whatever. If gas were to double in price quickly, what does that mean for those people? I personally know people that work 2 jobs. There's a place that we visit in town here. It's a local bar. Doesn't sound like it sounds. It's a nice whiskey bar. We go in there and we have a few drinks, and we know the owners, and they know us. It's kind of like Cheers. I walk in and they're like, "Hey, Don's here." It's fun. Yesterday was their 1-year anniversary, and it was great. One of the bartenders there, she works there a couple of days a week, but she also works at a restaurant that we frequent. What does that mean for someone like her? There's a lot of people that work in these types of jobs that have to work 2 jobs. Not laughing at them like, haha, you got to work 2 jobs. It's not about that. I used to have to work 2 jobs. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. When those people can't afford to go to those 2 jobs, then restaurants close, grocery stores close or slow down, or maybe they limit hours of operation. And if you're making 80 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand a year, good for you. Maybe these gas prices don't affect you as much in that sense, but it might when you are unable to get to the grocery store because the hours of operation is slimmed and you're at work. Not saying that's going to happen, but it could. So this is from Fortune magazine. This was April 7th. According to Fortune, the conflict in the Middle East has accelerated the erosion of the petrodollar, with Iran enforcing a de facto toll regime in the Straits of Hormuz, requiring payment in yuan or crypto. Reports indicate the shift is allowing the petro-yuan to gain ground as Iran forces a move away from U.S. dollar dominance in the regional energy market. Guys, it's starting in this sense, and what we're going to roll into is stagflation. Now, what is stagflation? Well, that's a recession plus double-digit inflation. U.S. debt interest explodes past another $1 trillion. The dollar weakens, imports skyrocket, the world economy fragments, and the BRICS rise. American pays the tab for kingdom building, and this is engineered collapse to clear the board for unchallenged Israel hegemony. I did a show, 3 or 4 years ago on the BRICS, and we talked about this. Brazil, Russia, Iran, who was the C? China, and South Africa are all part of this. There's more countries that have joined the BRICS nations since then, because these countries, you can say Russia and China, blah, blah, okay, whatever, but these countries see what the hell's going on. And I've told you this before, that it is of my opinion that Israel, I'm not talking about the citizens, I'm not talking about the Jewish religion, I'm talking about the government and these individuals, Netanyahu and these people that are running the show, they hate Christians, okay? I don't care what you say. I don't care what Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee and these Zionist Christians say. I don't care what they're saying. They're feeding you a line of bullshit, okay? Jewish religion does not believe in Jesus Christ and the things that Christians believe in. They don't care about the Christian religion or the people that follow it. They don't believe in what we believe in, so therefore they don't care for. And the funny thing is you as a Christian, if you were to say the same thing about the Jewish religion, you get slapped with the tag of anti-Semitism, and all this shit. Everything I'm talking about right now will be considered anti-Semitic. It's not. It's anti-Israeli government, yes. It's anti-Netanyahu, of course. It has nothing to do with religions. I personally believe that all religions of this world should be able to live together in harmony. There are factions in all religions that don't believe that. Muslim, Jews, Christians. There are factions in each religion. But in the grand scheme of things, your average everyday Jew, your average everyday Christian, your average everyday Muslim don't believe in that. They believe that we should all just be able to be here. And we celebrate our own religions. We have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, we have, whatever. And everyone's happy. But there's factions in each of those religions that don't believe in that. These factions, some of these are running countries. In the grand scheme of things, these factions in Judaism want America to perish. Well, Don, if we perish, then we wouldn't be able to help them. Yeah. I told you before we did a show on the Goyism. Okay? They don't want us to fade away totally because they need us for them to serve the Jewish people. Essentially becoming the slaves of the Israeli state. You, me, your neighbor, your wife, your husband, all of us. Is this a grand scheme to collapse America, create the global superpower of Israel to control the world? Is this something that maybe started 100 years ago? Is this something that maybe other leaders back in the 20s and 30s of last century saw coming? All right, guys, last break, and we'll wrap up the show. Hang tight. All right, time to support American made while we can. My Pillow, the most comfortable, durable pillows and bedding you'll ever own. Mike Lindell's still fighting for this country, and every purchase helps keep real talk alive. Sheets, towels, slippers, you name it, My Pillow has it. And it lasts. Go to MyPillow.com, use promo code DTOM for massive discounts, up to 70% off, guys. American labor, American quality. We'll finish strong. After this, hang tight. Okay, so it is my thought that Americans are growing ever tired of this. And I want to say this about that. Whether you're on the right, you're on the left, you're in the middle, you're libertarian, you don't give a shit, doesn't matter. This is affecting all of us. Much like when Biden won and gas went up, we're like, see, look, Biden, blah, 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 blah. Trump comes in, now gas is shot up, $1.50 since he's took over office. Recently, $1.50, not over the course of his presidency, because it dropped and then it's rose. My theory is that the world will not stand for this. $10 gas, empty shelves, yuan oil, pocketbook pain overrides everything, guys. Polls already show 60% unfavorable views of Israel in the U.S. Not anti-Semitism, against the country of Israel. And it's worse globally. Add recession and the narrative writes itself. Israel's endless expansion caused this. Arab states embargo, China, Russia arm the targets, Europe fractures, U.S. domestic revolt, America first screams cut the aid. Netanyahu becomes the villain of the century. ICC warns isolation, even Israeli domestic pushback. Greater Israel triggers regional concerns over sovereignty. The conspiracy isn't a theory. It's the map they're drawing in real time. Government hides the biblical endgame because the public would never sign off on funding an empire with their gas money and your son's blood. What I mean by that is this. There's going to come a time in the very near future where this country, countries in Europe, are going to say enough is enough. There are already ICC warrants on Netanyahu, but he's safe in certain countries. But there are countries that are calling for his arrest. First world countries. We're not talking about China and Russia. We're talking about countries in Europe. Eventually, it's going to get to that point. And it's not even just Netanyahu. It's his underlings within the Israeli government. As long as they believe that this is the future for Israel, the Greater Israel Project, and Americans, Europeans, people within the Middle East, people in Israel themselves, as long as we are paying this price, when is enough going to be enough for all of us to say enough is enough? It is my thought process that eventually is going to come to a point where you're going to get too many superpowers that are going to say enough is enough. Once China runs out of fuel, once your Southeast Asia countries start running low on fuel or can't afford to buy fuel, even if it is from America, you're going to have a world economic collapse, not just in America, but in the whole world. Boom, the whole world. Woo. So we've covered the Monastery video, the 2-week lie, the Litani push, the Nile to the Euphrates blueprint, the economic apocalypse, and the coming global turning point. This isn't anti-anything. It's pro-truth, pro-sovereignty, pro-not being suckers for any foreign agenda. The government isn't hiding information because it's a conspiracy. It's hiding it because the truth would end the blank checks. Stay vigilant, guys. Support the show. Follow the show on whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. Question everything. Do your own research, guys. I'm not making this shit up. It's out there. I don't just sit here and write shit down and think of things that are in my head. I question everything, as you should too. What is the end game? Where is this going? It's not going to end with us paying $6, $8, $10, $12 a gallon in gas, and even more if you live in Europe, guys. You know, you're already paying those numbers now. Guys, it's getting to that point. Whether you're in America, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't care if you voted for Trump, if you voted for whoever, it doesn't matter. Guys, it's coming. And once you open your eyes and understand what's going on, you'll be where I'm at right now. Guys, have a great day. Follow the show. See you later. Peace.